Seven Layers of the Sports Card Hobby by Ziggy Now. Theory, hypothesis on the different layers, how they interact with each other, what the impacts are of a sports card, an individual, who the actors are, where do influencers fit in, what has changed and what is changing. This is my first whiteboard example of this. There'll be more in the future. I do want to shout out SCV for using whiteboards. He's really encouraged me to do the same. So, start at the top. Topps, Panini, Upper Deck. These are your major three in the major sports manufacturing sports cards. Not talking about TCG and non-sports cards in this example, although many things are similar. Below them is where they are typically selling most of their products to. Now, I will say there's always a dotted line now. There are more and more dotted lines from these manufacturers directly to the hobbyists, hobbyists/flippers, right? But for the most part, they're selling to the distributors. Go GTS, Peachtrees of the world, Blowout, Steel City, Dave & Adams. These guys will be buying because these guys are making products on a regular basis. They don't have time to wait to see if this product sells through. They push it into the channel helps it sell through, and they're on to the next product. That's what's been the engine of the hobby. These guys make products. They don't care whether or not they're desirable. These guys determine desirability. If a product sucks, it will normally hang out for a year or two before it's churned out. Better products get greater demand. You'll have hoarding and so forth, and you'll see that trickle-down effect. For this video, we're going to walk through the different layers. So you have the distribution layer. Then I have what's referred to as the first layer that really the hobbyist has access to. Local card stores, breakers, hobbyist flippers. And this is either through going to these distributors, maybe they have a partnership, they're buying bulk, whatever it might be, or they're buying direct, right? On Montgomery Club, maybe they're on the Dutch auctions, maybe they're EPAC or other solutions that are direct from the manufacturers to the hobbyists. This is your first hobbyist these are the rippers, the guys opening boxes, maybe reselling the boxes, your flippers. These are your, in my opinion, more gambling like hobbyists, right? Your riskier hobbyists are up here. This is an area I like to be in. I like to get access to product as soon as I can at the best price, cheapest price I can of specific products. Now that's another key point here. I'm not taking every product. I'm only taking the ones that I want. These guys take every product, right? They have to take the good and the bad to get access to this. Breakers. Now breakers could be up here. These guys sometimes become breakers, but breakers are normally the next layer. Breakers and local card stores are buying from either directly from the manufacturers or they're buying from distributors, depending on what their comfort level is, cash flow, whatever it might be. I'm going to point out right here, cash flow is very important. The difference between these guys and these guys is bankroll, in my opinion. These guys have big bankrolls where they can store, hold cash, have workout deals. These guys are turn and burn. They're trying to get through inventory, and if they hold too long, they're going to lose money. So they're churn and burning, right? They're trying to stay afloat. Now, this is what I'll tell you. In my opinion, these guys are in a lot of trouble, right? Because there's so many factors affecting these guys. Next layer underneath here is what I refer to again is the hobbyist flipper. Again, it's the same thing here. Just if you're not getting it from your distributor or your manufacturer, you're probably getting it from your breaker or your local card store. This is the area that I find myself spending most of my time, right? Because I do buy from breakers. I will at the local card store. Now, the layer underneath this, right, I want to point this out. These first four layers, normally grading has not even come into this, right? Think about how important grading is to the hobby, how much cards get graded. 1 million cards plus per month are graded. This is your grading value-added level. Your subbers who are subbing cards, your hobbyists who are polishing, fixing, altering cards, your minty guys, whatever. That's this layer right here. This is the value-add layer. Again, another layer I like to be in because I can get cards here, add value to them, and then resell, flip them, sell them, trade them, whatever I want to do. Get a lot of flexibility here. The next layer here is this hobbyist/dealer/flipper. The difference here is these guys are typically the ones getting these cards after they've had the value add. They're getting them when they're graded. And I want to point out real quickly for this video, this is where most of the influencer content is coming from. This is where your Jeff Wilson lives, right? Jeff Wilson is a guy who goes out and buys graded cards, and he deals them, flips them, moves them, and he promotes that. Rothcard, another one that I find in this area. Trike, another great one in this area. Again, I'm not knocking these guys, but that's the area that most of these guys live in. Most of what we see, in my opinion, is this area too, right? Either guys in this area, maybe you brought it up a little bit like this, right? And then you have this layer of the collector. And this is where you also have this kind of barrier. And I'll talk about this in another video, the difference here, the boundary here, because ultimately we're all looking for one of these guys, right? We're looking for the final resting place for that card. And how we get to there is competitive, right? And these guys are competing as well. And what's driving that as you come down this, right? There's more and more demand for certain cards. And if those cards have greater demand, they go up in value once they're finding their way to the collector. And this is why rookie classes typically go through this release cycle. Manufacturer makes it, sends it out distributors, breakers break it, local cards open it, hobbyists flip it, whatever, grade it. Once it's graded, it gets sent around. People are flipping it back and forth, watching players go up and down, hopefully finds a collector. If it doesn't, it drops out. It's gone. That is the churn of the hobby. Now, I want to point this out over here. PSA registry. I'm not a PSA fan. I'm a PSA critic. Okay, I do use PSA, but I've said this forever. This right here is more powerful than people realize. So many people operating over here have no idea how this drives collector behavior, which drives their demand and their money that they're willing to spend and pay these guys. When a guy spends $1 million on a $1 million card, what it does is it sets kind of like a flare to the community. Hey, that card went for $1 million. What other ones are like it? Now, they're all not going to go for $1 million. They're not going to go for hundreds of thousands, but it's going to bring visibility on those cards. And that is what kind of the trickle-down effect of these major PSA registry changes, right? So when you see a PSA 9 sell on an old set sell for a lot of money, and then PSA 8s and 7s and whatever have effect, it's because of this PSA registry, right? This PSA registry, because every year new sets come out, PSA registry makes new sets, more people are competing, collectors are competing to get to those new sets. Again, listening to the, not sports card guy, talking about the guy who's chasing the registry for Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones, not even in my wheelhouse, but if he's chasing Game of Thrones to complete this because of the PSA registry, that's going to drive his demand, and it drives all this stuff in the middle. That's why they make new products, because they know there's new site registries. Now, the reason I'm saying this, I want to share this video to get some feedback. I'd love to hear from other people, but I want to point out how, in my opinion, another registry, a global registry, I don't think you can beat the PSA registry, but something else would help create more demand, which would, again, get this engine down here burning, which creates a lot more growth up here. I guess if I'm Fanatics and I want to grow the hobby, Fanatics, registries grow the hobby. Another thing that I'll say real quickly on this video that grows the hobby is that buyback. Right, that buyback that Topps did right here, let me just point out, that buyback that Topps did got me to go into my local card store, and I bought Panini and Topps products, which I will then rip those open. I will add value to them through grading. They will make it down to hobbyists and dealers and flippers and complete the whole cycle. What are your thoughts, comments, suggestions?